This is my full review of 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, the latest film in the zombie franchise started by director Danny Boyle and writer Alex Garland back in 2002 with the original 28 Days Later. So how was it? What did I think of it? Now, I feel some preamble is in order. I'm a big fan of post-apocalyptic stories, especially those involving zombies. Ever since director George A. Romero essentially launched the modern version of the genre with 1968's Night of the Living Dead, followed by the fantastic sequel Dawn of the Dead in 1978, zombie stories have held a fascination for me, culminating in more recent works like Brad Pitt's 2013 film World War Z, or World War Z in the US, as well as TV's The Walking Dead. The original 28 Days Later, back in 2002, turned out to be a significant game-changing entry in the genre, as it introduced and ushered in the era of zombies who could run fast and chase after you.
Come on! Run! That way! Outside!
This was a change from earlier versions of zombies, who were typically depicted as slow and lumbering, though they made up for their lack of speed in sheer numbers. Technically, the undead humans in 28 Days Later were called the Infected, but to all intents and purposes, they were zombies. That is, humans who have died and been reanimated, and with a relentless need and hunger for live human flesh.
One more word, and I will feed you to my children.
Their newfound ability to run made for several very exciting sequences, and even made its way into the 2004 remake of Dawn of the Dead, directed by a young Zack Snyder and with a script, coincidentally, by James Gunn, now head of DC Studios. Okay, preamble over. Back to 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. After an okay but weaker sequel to 28 Days called 28 Weeks Later in 2007, the franchise returned last year with 28 Years Later, which, as its title implies, is set 28 years after the initial outbreak. While Boyle returned to directing duties for that film, this time it's Nia DaCosta who takes over the director's chair for The Bone Temple. And she shows that she's definitely no slouch at horror. Though, admittedly, it's not her first horror rodeo, having directed Kellyman back in 2021. Now, if you haven't seen last year's 28 Years Later, then The Bone Temple may be a little difficult to follow. So if you are interested in watching The Bone Temple, then make sure you've seen its predecessor.
I promise you'll understand.
This is important as the story in The Bone Temple begins where 28 Years Later left off. Spike, played by Alfie Williams, has joined the Fingers, a clan of rabble-rousers and troublemakers led by the sadistic Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal, played by Jack O'Connell. Meanwhile, Dr. Ian Kelson, played by Ralph Fiennes, who we met during the last half hour of the previous film, conducts research on the zombie alpha he has nicknamed Samson, played by Che Lewis Parry, using his stock of morphine and other drugs. As Sir Jimmy and his gang continue to wreak death and destruction wherever they travel, both parties are about to collide.
You need collision coverage?
Yes.
Now, post-apocalyptic zombie stories often have common elements and characteristics, some to be expected and others less so. For me, there is something inherently fascinating as well as chilling about the end of the civilized world as we know it.
I wish you could be here with me! Oh, baby!
In many of these stories, we typically follow a small batch of survivors struggling to stay alive in the face of a ruined society, often with lawless gangs of anarchic and moral-free humans causing mayhem. And there's also 1,000 or more zombies roaming the countryside, looking at you like a prime cut of steak. Yum.
We are all steak.
Da Costa's directorial style for The Bone Temple, steady, confident, polished, is in contrast to Boyle's, which was edgy, chaotic, and discordant. This brings a different energy to the flow of the film. Da Costa is happy to let scenes simmer for a while before they hit a boiling point. But when they do boil, boy, does it bubble over.
You foul, obnoxious mob! You have a weak electrochemical bond, but you take the cake!
She piles on the fear and the dread and more fear, as well as plenty of gore and tension. Such is her grip on our attention during one particularly harrowing sequence that it's quite tough to watch, and yet also difficult to look away.
Oh, I can't bear to watch.
I have to.
Now, while the zombies or infected are still ever present, with occasional encounters that raise the pulse, I admit I would have liked to see more. More of that bloodshot eyes, crazed, raspy-voiced frenzy that have characterized their relentless pursuits and attacks in previous films. But given that relatively lower quotient of contact with the infected, the film is surprisingly and in many ways actually scarier than its predecessor. Yes, more scary. And that's due to the depraved depths that humans will plunge to in order to get their sickest of kicks.
It's also a personal statement about the band itself.
Right.
Hey, Paul!
As we have seen depicted in many of the best zombie flicks from years prior, including Romero's first two Dead films, Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead, as well as the original 28 Days Later, humans are often shown to be the ultimate embodiment of evil. That evil is personified by Jack O'Connell's Jimmy, who's charismatic and confident, but also cruel and very, very nasty. It's another magnetic performance by O'Connell, who was similarly creepy in last year's Sinners, the much-praised vampire film from Ryan Coogler. Who'd have thought O'Connell would be in back-to-back horror films in a 9-month stretch and hit home runs in each?
There's a drive, left field, twisting and into foul territory.
Ralph Fiennes, who had a smaller role in 28 Years Later, commands a lot more screen time in Bone Temple. Which makes sense, given the film's title is the very imposing structure he has erected. The beauty of Fiennes' character and performance is that I didn't quite know whether he was a decent man or deranged enough to go off the rails at some point. After all, it's not every day you meet someone who has such an obsession with collecting the bones and skulls of the dead in order to build a shrine to them, right? As for the remainder of the cast, the young Alfie Williams remains a solid anchor for the audience's attention, having been the main character in the previous film. Here, he is more of a pawn, but still an important one. The most notable of the crazed Fingers clan, aside from O'Connell's Sir Lord Jimmy, is Jimmy Inc., played by Erin Kellyman, who's previously shown up in films like Solo, a Star Wars story from 2018, and the MCU's Disney Plus TV series, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Part of my disappointment with last year's 28 Years Later was that it ended with more of a whimper than a bang. Bone Temple's finish is a little more boisterous, and yes, even insane, but it doesn't match the original 28 Days Later's climactic moments for intensity and excitement. Indeed, the most horrific moments in Bone Temple occur earlier. And to repeat, I wish there were more zombies involved.
Please, sir. I want some more.
I want more.
I want more.
So to sum up, 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple is not quite the post-apocalyptic classic that the original 28 Days Later is. But there is enough here to show promise for the planned third entry in this current 28 Years Later trilogy run. Yes, there are plans to have a third installment.
What do you know about trilogies?
You mean like movie trilogies?
You seem to like movies, Detective.
Well, all I know about movie trilogies is that in the third one, all bets are off.
the final sequence in the Bone Temple actually has me quite pumped and excited for this next film. If it ever gets made, of course, and I hope it does, regardless of the box office. It could very well be an epic finale.
Is that corny?
Sounds epic.
So what is my final rating for 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple? I did think it was an improvement over its predecessor, last year's 28 Years Later. And I give it a 7 out of 10. So, have you seen 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple? What did you think? Leave your comments below, and if you like my content, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much.